Dave, congratulations, through to the third round of the FA Cup, only the second time in 15 years for Stockport County, but a performance you must be proud of.
Yeah, listen, I'm proud of our group, whatever the performance is and whatever the result at the end of it is, but it's always nice to win. I think it's very similar to Saturday. We were functional in terms of what we did. I think we can play better, but we showed a lot of, I suppose, the good bits that have got us success over the past 12 months in terms of the intensity we played at. We made them play in the areas that we wanted to play, certainly after the first 10 minutes. And I think we're thoroughly deserving of progressing. And
the worst possible start as well, so to react from that is even more encouraging.
I don't know, last year against Bolton was worse, I've got to be... listen, I was disappointed because the last thing I'd said to them before going out onto the pitch was to make it a cup tie and to play forward. We know that they're a young centre-back playing. What's a handful for the most experienced centre-back, so I wanted us to play forward. We played a short free kick, which then resulted in us kicking out for a throw-in, then having to defend the corner, which we didn't do, and the ball ends up in our net. I just felt there was a strange atmosphere in here tonight. Again, it's a freezing cold night. I think we've probably a victim of our own success a little bit, because maybe people came here and looked at us getting a draw against Charlton, almost expected, well, we'll just roll them over. Which is, it's great that people believe that, but it was certainly not going to be the case. We need to be very good. The equaliser then sort of, from that point on, I felt we sort of settled into the game, and being able to have a chat at half time and I suppose revisit and re-emphasise the way that we thought we could I suppose be successful and play the game that we wanted to play was important. In the second half they've done that really, really well.
Will Collar will obviously get the headlines for his hat-trick, but it's a performance I think that has been coming. He's been getting better and better as the weeks have gone on, and he deserves that tonight.
Yeah, I spoke after Saturday in terms of his performance and got a goal. I think last year he's maybe transformed people's opinions on him and what he is as a player, and he's grown as a player. He's gone from somebody that was, I suppose, frustrated by not being able to play games consecutively and having injuries as a young player to almost the shackles being loosened and him allowed to go and use his physical attributes to affect games of football. He did that brilliantly last year and scored lots of goals. He started the season not great if you look at it in a certain way, but he played one game and then had a concussion in the second game against Stevenage, which he was in a bad way from the concussion. He couldn't remember a thing, so he was back. I think he was back sort of 2.5 weeks, or maybe closer to 3 weeks. He then came into a team that wasn't really firing. We then asked him to go and play at right back and as right wing back to do a job for us up for a few games. All of a sudden now we've got players back. We've been allowed to put him back in an area of the pitch where people have to be aware of what he's doing and the forward runs he makes, because he makes really, really good forward runs, but he has the capacity to make lots of them, and that's something that teams can't deal with over a long period, but also has the quality to be able to get in the right place at the right time and finish. And we also now know that he can take penalties as well.
I was going to ask you about that. I think it was the most magnanimous piece of captaincy I've ever seen on a pitch, but to see a striker abdicate the responsibility for, with Paddy Madden, normally a certain goal. What was your view of it?
It was magnanimous because he scored. I'd have been less pleased if he hadn't scored. I completely get why, but at that point, with the game being 2-1, the game's still in the balance. Yeah. I've preferred Paddy to take it, because then there's no ifs or buts, and I'd prefer Will to then go and get his hat-trick later on in the game and it finished 4-1. But I understand why it happened. Listen, I have no issue with Will taking penalties. No. He was one of our... if we watched penalties quite a lot last year with the sort of run that we were going on, we've done the same this year. Will technically is good enough, and if we were picking 5 penalty takers, he would be in the top 5 penalty takers. with the game in the balance, and he's come off at the end and gone, oh yeah, changed my mind as well. I was like, I didn't need to hear that. Listen, he stuck it away, so the talk is now about him getting a hat-trick and something that he'll remember for the rest of his life in a FA Cup tie that takes us to the third round, live on national TV, which is, it is brilliant. Profile for him, great profile for the team, profile for the football club. It's been a great night for us.
There were one or two incidents in the second half that were quite unsavoury. You had to cope with some of the dark arts that even before the penalty, somebody got booked for scuffing the penalty spot. There was obviously one or two needless fouls, but the incident I think we're all concerned about is the incident involving Macaulay Southam-Hales, where the back of his head has obviously clattered into those hoardings behind the Cheadle end with a nudge from George Dobson. What's your view of that incident? The referee didn't give anything, didn't show a card.
Yeah, they felt it wasn't done on purpose. Listen, I've been there as a player, and when someone's travelling towards the touchline, the hoardings, if you can give them a nudge, you give them a nudge. The issue you have with that is dealing with the consequence. There are tackles happening in a game where you don't mean to hurt someone. If you do hurt them, then again, use Macca as a perfect example. Last season, in the sending off he had, he never meant to do that, yet the lad ends up in a bad way and Macca ends up sent off. That was, again, you can't say it's not endangering opponents. He's very, very fortunate, because this would be a different conversation had either the impact been millimetres in a different direction or Macca's head had been millimetres higher than where it was. We could be looking at a fractured skull. You could be looking at anything, and especially on the back of the incident that's happened within the last month with the player at Bath and the injury and a surgery and all those sorts of things. You've got to be very, very careful. Listen, nobody's stood here and saying that's a disgrace, he meant to do it, you don't, but there's a consequence to it. And again, from our side of things, you look at it and go, well, we had to take I suppose a player off as a result of that. It was a foul, whether you like it or not, it's a foul and should have been dealt with. And there were, like I say, there were some other things that went on. You expect that in a game of football. I know they were unhappy with the first goal, suggesting it was offside. I'm not sure, I've not seen it back. There was an absolute nailed-on penalty that they didn't mention anything about, funny enough. So there's things happen. That was an incident that, fortunately, we hope, Macca's not going off the hospital just to get checked out. We hope there's no further damage or consequences to it. And if that's the case, he's very, very lucky, and fortunately everyone can sort of move on from it.
Let's hope we see him on Saturday when it's Rochdale away. Let's hope they've got the covers on, because it's bitterly cold, isn't it? Tough place to go. I know they've had a difficult season so far, but it's a local derby and anything can happen.
Absolutely. Listen, we've just said there, in terms of the weather turning, all the ingredients, in terms of uncertainty, I'm sure it'll be a game where there will be mistakes. We hope, like I say, that the game goes ahead. We go there, and we'll go there with 3,000 supporters, and probably everybody will expect us to turn up there and against a Rochdale team that have lost 4-1 at home to Harrogate last weekend, and come home with 3 points. But they're a little bit wounded. I listened to Jim's interview after the game, and they'll be right up for it. And we've got our success over the past 12 months based on hard work, so nothing will change for us. This is like I say, a humble, motivated group, and we know what we've got to do. The big thing for us will be the physical effort we put in on Saturday and tonight. Can't take its toll at the weekend. We've got to be everything we can. This is like I say, it's a fit group. The work that we've done over not just the pre-season but last season as well has stood in good stead, if you like, to be able to go and perform there again. And then we have a week then to prepare for the next game. That's when we can not always have a bit of downtime, but we can get people back and we can look after them. Going to Rochdale on Saturday and picking up 3 points would make it a brilliant week for us. Two wins and a progression in the FA Cup is exactly what we'd hoped for. If we can go and do that, it'll be a great effort.
Well, I know you love a cup run as a player. You're doing it again today as a manager, so well done tonight. You're through to the third round. Congratulations.
Cheers, John. Thank you.
Thank you.